so welcome to Amplified, and today we have with us Peter Haththotuwa, all the way from Washington DC. So Peter, welcome, and it's so nice to have you.
Thank you. It's
and
good to be here.
It's a real privilege to have you all the way from the US.
I know. I'm so glad it worked out.
I know.
Privileged to be here.
With your, I think you're on a tight schedule, right? So it's really good to have you. And just to fill our audience in, what are you up to these days? And just tell us what has been going on with life, and what was 2017 like, and 2018, these 3 months, how has it been for you?
Yeah, well, it's an exciting time. I had been working in 2017 on my, I guess, debut EP. I was just starting to produce and write more songs. And so finally got that done at the end of last year, at the end of 2017, and released it earlier this year. So that was in February. And now I've been spending the last month and a half working on the next project for another artist, and that's been super fun and exciting.
Wow, actually I was listening to it, and it was amazing, and the quality, and really nice. And I know that you always had a heart for writing songs and composing. So just tell us, because Amplified is about honestly encouraging young songwriters, to those who are, contemplating, should I do something, should I step out? But then again, you have those setbacks, you have the fears, then you have like, okay, especially in this culture, would it be accepted? So can you just tell us, like, in this journey that you've been through as a young songwriter and producer, any kind of challenges, difficulties, fears, how did you overcome them? Were there special people in your life that actually, spoke into your life and basically encouraged you and handheld you during those times? Did you take a break from all of this, because of probably, I don't know, maybe even fear, discouragement, or maybe not having the right setting? So just, why don't you just share your thoughts?
Sure. I think for me it was something that I always wanted to do, like write songs and create music, even before I knew it was something that I wanted to do. I remember I wrote my first song in high school, and it was awful. Like, obviously it was really bad. But all through school, all through my time in college, that was kind of something I wanted to do. And I thought I was better than I was at that time. I was like, oh, let me pursue this. And then I think everyone goes through this, right? Where you realize, wow, there's so much I don't know. I'm really not as good as I thought I was. And if you're actually not in the right environment or in the right place internally, that can really crush you. That can really be a devastating realization. Like, wow, I'm not the bee's knees. Like, I'm not the next big thing right now. So for me, that happened during like a year-long internship program that I was doing. I was leading worship and playing a lot of music, and it was awesome, very formative. And there were a lot of people around me who were actually very gifted at songwriting and very talented and very skilled. And it was like that whole year I realized, man, I can't write a song. Like, it was like this total block. I couldn't do it. And there were so many times where I was like, okay, I guess this isn't for me. But at the same time, I was so hungry. I really, really, really wanted to make music. And it was just this source of frustration. And I remember there's one guy who worked at the church I was on staff at, and I remember so vividly, he just one day turned around and said to me, hey, you seem like you're really fascinated with like producing, you're a gifted writer, why don't you go actually learn to do what you're talking about? Basically like a very loving way of saying, you don't know what you're talking about, but you could. And for me, that kind of changed the game. I was like, let me go and invest in this. Let me put in the hours. Let me just like find a way to make this work and channel this desire, even channel the frustration and the disappointment into something good. And so, yeah, that sort of became a process of, okay, let me write just something every day, or like try and be faithful to it, try and be persistent with it. And then in the dedication and like the unglamorous, wow, there's a lot of bad songs behind the scenes, you start to have songs that are cool, that other people can connect with. Even, you know, that other people might want to record for themselves, like that I write that somebody else wants to record. That is an experience that I'm now having, and it's the best. And just the thought that I get to like write and create music, this is something I always wanted to do. It didn't come easy, but it's so worth it, I guess, is the one thought that I have to say. It's like, it's not an easy process to get there maybe, but it is so, so worth it. And it is the best thing ever.
Interesting. So just to catch on something that you mentioned, you were speaking about internally not being in the right place.
Sure.
Can you like elaborate on?
Yeah, well, I think it's what I was thinking when I was talking about the internal place to be is having a growth mindset. I think if you don't have a growth mindset, when you meet a challenge, you can be like, oh, that's not going the way I wanted it to. Oh well, and then you could sort of give up. You could choose to not pursue whatever it was that you were pursuing. But with a growth mindset, what that allows you to do is say, okay, wow, I'm not as awesome as I thought it was. I'm not where I want to be, but I know that I can change the situation. I know that I can put in the work that I need to do and put whatever I have on the table and change something with me to meet the situation and to make the situation something that I see in my head and I want. So basically, if you have a growth mindset and you have that kind of realization, it allows you to use your frustration and you're like, oh man, I'm not there yet, as a motivation for helping you get there. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And you also said something where basically if you write a song, someone else produces it, right? You've been working that way as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Up until this point, it's been more, I write the song, and then if an artist wants to do it, I try and have me produce it, because that's fun. There are a couple songs out there that I've written for other producers, also really fun, but something that I equally love just as much as writing a song is creating the sonic like landscape for it, creating a track for it, music for it, production for it that really carries the heart of the music, the heart of the lyric and the melody, and then it all works together to take the listener somewhere, to make the listener feel a certain way. So I love all the parts of the process, and as much as I can, I love to work with the artist and be like, okay, here's a song, and if you like this, if you like the way this sounds, we can make that happen for you as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what I'm gathering is it's important to actually work with others who are like-minded and
Yes.
even more talented, so that their skills rub off on you, and basically that combination and togetherness is important, right?
Oh yes, I think the best creative solution is always going to be found in community. Is always going to be found when you're able to collaborate with someone else. I mean, I think every step in the process, especially this last EP, was like a real, like a textbook case of like, man, this could not have happened with just one person. You know, like from the songwriting phase, working with my co-writers to write something cool and bring songs into existence, and then all through like producing the project, different drummers, different people who came in and listened to the song and were like, hey, what about this guitar part? Working with a vocal producer, my like business partner Nicois, who's awesome and a fantastic vocal producer, helping her helping me and the other artists who sang on the EP to like bring out the best of their voice. That kind of "it takes a village" is so true.
Okay.
And I think that always the best results happen when you rely on everybody's expertise, and it's not just one person trying to make it happen themselves.
That's awesome. Actually, I think that's a very, very important point that you brought up of actually getting together and strengthening up as a team.
Yeah.
It's not just about yourself or your name, but
yeah.
it's about family and like you call it, a village.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's an interesting term actually to use. Just before we just move on to listening to your song, I just want to quickly ask you, now you were working with this church, you said, and basically in the worship team, is that correct? Yeah, so can you just tell me, like, okay, you're a talented person with all these, hidden skills coming out, and then you're rubbing off on other people, they are rubbing off on you. Like, how do you maintain that balance of, worship and, being a highly talented and skilled person? How do you actually balance that? Because, I don't know, sometimes you can get a little carried away with, focusing very much on talent, and then, I think you drift away from the fact of worship. So how do you kind of maintain that balance as someone who is really talented and gifted?
That is so kind of you to say. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're
I think,
and that's true, by the way. So from the bottom of my heart.
You're so kind. Thank you, T. For me, it's process, right? I mean, I think that part of the joy of making music is like sharing it with other people. But then I think when other people are involved in anything, it's very easy to get into a place of, either people pleasing or even worrying about what someone thinks, even worrying about whether. So for me, I had the thing where I was thinking what I'm bringing is not good enough. Early on in life, I didn't think I was able to sing and all that stuff. And so, when I was leading worship and when I began to do this more and more often with people who are very talented, for me actually the interesting battle was being able to give God glory for the gifts that He had given me, without downsizing or putting myself down, because that would be just insulting to Him, right? If He's given me something and I'm like, this gift isn't that great. So for me, that was part of the process. And then of course on the other side, okay, if something goes really well, I led worship at this event and God really moved. I think that is the key thing, right? Is making sure that you can understand, let me look at the giver of this gift and not minimize the gift, but just be able to, in my heart, any glory that comes to me, I just reflect it straight up, and I'm able to make it just another part of my relationship with God, where He's chosen to share some of His goodness, some of His glory with me in the form of a gift or a talent. But it just it's part of this cycle of He just pours out goodness and love and kindness on me, and I just give Him my affection back. And so actually pulling the gift out of the equation or making it just another part of the way that He and I interact and relate, He's given me everything. That's just one thing, right? It's just one of the many, many gifts, including awesome family, friends, relationships. Everything I have is from God. And so just being able to put it into context and I am not my gift is not me. It's just another amazing thing that God has given me. And I love Him for it the same way that I love Him because He loved me first. It's just another way He's loved me first. Yeah.
Interesting. So I really like the part where you say that, every gift is from God and you shouldn't really downsize it. I think that's very important because I think when you're around very talented people, you can feel very inferior.
Sure.
Right? And then I think you really miss out on bringing that gift that God has given, so that in His hands He can actually multiply it and use it.
Yes.
So that is really thought-provoking, and thank you, Peter, for that. And we would actually like to hear your song, which you have composed. And
cool.
So let's go for it.
Gracious God, the words can't grasp what my heart sings, a song of awe. My soul overflowing as I delight in being yours, delight in being loved by you. I delight in being yours, delight in being loved by you. hiding place. Your love is all around me, here in your arms. So near I hear you singing, I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. What a delight to be yours. Delight to be loved by you. And I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. Blessed assurance, my life secure. You fought for my freedom and won the war. Here in your presence, my life's restored. You fought for my heart and you won the war. And that's why I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. And what a delight to be yours. Delight to be loved by you. And I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved. I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. And what a delight to be yours. Delight to be loved by you. I delight in being yours. Delight in being loved by you. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Oh, my beloved, my beloved, my beloved.
So, Peter, that was great listening to the song that you have composed, and just a quick one to find out what really drove you to writing this song and composing it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Let's see. This one started out. I was literally just sitting in my basement. I have a studio set up in my basement. I was just sitting there, and like out of nowhere, I just like felt so happy to be like loved by God. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but it was like this very sudden, like that the chorus melody and the chorus line came just like that. It was just a quick download, and then I had like my all my stuff right there, and so that like intro that like was basically what I played right away, and it just like happened. Like I like kind of looked up, and there was like a sonic texture as well. I was like, this is a great direction for the production side of it as well. So that one actually came very quick. Not all of them are like that.
Yeah.
And then I took that idea and I shared it with Nicoise, who I co-write with a ton, and she's amazing, and she and I fleshed out the rest of it and just like made sure that it made sense structurally. We sat in like a restaurant with like lots of people around us and wrote that bridge after like doing leading worship for 2 services together. We were really tired, but we just sat there and like the bridge came out, and so that was a quick process. It was over the course of a couple of days, maybe from a Friday to a Sunday. But again, like there's a huge process for some songs, and some songs are very quick. And if you can be okay with both of those, that's a really good place to be in.
Excellent. So that's basically a song directly a download from the Lord, probably.
I would say
based on the revelation.
The core idea was definitely a download.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the fun, is like you get to co-labor with God. Like God, all the inspiration, everything good is from God. And so you get to take that and then work with him on the rest of it. And that's part of the fun. It's like, you know, God created music, and so I'm sure if he just wrote a song by himself, it would be infinitely better. But he chooses to like partner with us in creating things and making something beautiful. And I think that's what delights his heart, is that chance to just be with us.
So it has been a blessing, Peter, to have you with us and just to hear your heart on music and composing and songwriting and producing. So just want to bless you as you go along this journey. But just before we wrap up, anything that you would like to, you know, give as advice to young songwriters and composers, producers, you know, any piece of advice?
Man, I think we've covered some good ones. I think being open to collaboration is important. That's huge, because at the start you're like, oh, I want to show anyone my song, or what if they change it? But that's actually when it becomes what it's meant to become. I think a lot of the answers for the missing pieces of any download that we get, oftentimes the answer is found in other people. And God has done that so that we can work together and so that we can be united in that way. I think that's huge. I think persistence is huge, even when you're not where you want to be. Being realistic with yourself and saying, okay, I'm not where I want to be. I know there's more growth that I want to see in my life. And then being willing to take the steps necessary to get to that place. Those are two huge ones. But other than that, I think learn the rules, especially with songwriting and with production. Learn the rules that are in place, because they exist for a reason. And then be willing to like break them and bend them as needed to create whatever it is that is inside of you and bring that into reality.
Okay, so no shortcuts, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Peter, and a blessing to all of you who have joined us on Amplify. Thank you very much, and until next time, stay blessed.